So yeah, I just wanted to come on here. I don't know if I want to call this part two of, what, we were talking about on our, what we left off in our conversation as far as our divinity and knowing who we are, knowing that we're more than just human beings, that, that we are, spirit that possesses a soul, mind, will, emotions that lives in a body. And that's just one aspect of who we are, but that's just a real basic baseline, But, more than these suits that we wear, is the consciousness behind it, what's going on up in here, because all of what we see is really just a projection of the mind, so just having that sense of awareness, just to get still enough and get quiet enough. And that's where I think so many of the distractions come into play, because we're always being bombarded with signals and messages, inwardly, outwardly, we're surrounded by all kind of stimulus, stimuli. So because of that, it can be kind of hard to hone in on one thing and hone in on, identity and who we are. But that's where life starts to change. That's where be still and know that I am God comes into play, and you realize, okay, you are the source and creator of your reality, of your world, because we're made in the image of God, correct? Right? So being made in the image and likeness of Elohim means to be a creator, but we just haven't been able to discover where those creative faculties are. And the creative faculty is the imagination. Whatever Genesis 11, whatever they imagine will not be impossible to them. But we've lost that power. But now that we're coming upon, some people say the age of Aquarius, or we're coming upon all of these pivotal times. Some people say it's the end times. People look at the different calendars, the Mayan calendars, and all these different, phenomena. But they're all saying the same thing, that man is coming into another phase of our awakening. And it's the same thing that you see in the scriptures, where you see Christ saying that, we would be the sons of God, that creation is waiting for the sons of God to be revealed, and for us to step into our true power as creators, using our imagination to create the Garden of Eden, to transform our world from a desert, wasteland, dry place where nothing grows, where it's only hatred, it's only survival of the fittest, it's only me and mine against you and yours, this whole world that we live in, where we have more than enough resources for everybody, but there's 10% that, and we're going to talk about that 10% quite a bit here, but that 10% controls 90% of the world's resources, while most people around the world, live with a bare minimum of just necessities to be able to survive. Not because there's a shortage or there's a lack. Even when they call recessions, it's like, okay, you call it a recession because, the powers that be feel like they want to move these funds around, or they want to do something that's based on their agenda, but the money and the value and the wealth of the world is still in it. It hasn't left. Ain't no diamonds, ain't no shortage on diamonds, ain't no shortage on gold, ain't no shortage on coal, all the oil, all the resources that the earth itself makes naturally. There is no shortage on natural resources. It's just being monopolized for greed. And that's where it gets prophetic, and that's where you know, universal law comes in. See, you can sit up here and we can argue about back and forth about, you know, the scriptures and which religion, you know, is the best one, but all of those religions are just schoolmasters. They're just teachers to bring you to the one place, to the place of oneness, where it's based on universal laws, things that we all agree upon, right and wrong. You know, the basic right of human, the virtue and the importance of human life, all this stuff that we know deep down in our conscience that is right, you know. That's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. So, you know, it's just like universal laws, like sowing and reaping, the law of reversibility, you know, so many. I can't even think of all of them right now. I ain't gonna try to sound smart and educated, but yeah, that's where we get control over. You know, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. You know, we understand that by the word and by the power of the word, the worlds were formed and created. You know, so the word is just logos. It's somebody calling me. Logos. You know, something that started in the imagination, and then it became a real thing, and then it had its manifestation out in the 3D world. And that's what the word is talking about. Ideas, creativity. And that's what we were created to show forth in the earth. So I just challenge myself every day, and, you know, to just be still and know that I am is God. You know, that all the power is within me, in the world that I want to create, and how I think, in the world that I frame in my mind, and how I see myself and how I see others. You know, that's what it really boils down to. We can sit up here and wax fact about all these deep things and all these concepts, and I can sit up here and try to sound like a guru and sound smart, and we'll get into some more of those things, you know, but basically it just boils down to self-awareness and self-identity, and knowing who you are, knowing that you're not just a human being, that we are aspects of God having a human experience. So we are God having an experience through whatever your name is, whatever my name is, you know, and then we wake up from the dream and realize, oh, whoa, God has been sleeping. And he finally wakes up inside of you. And now you're at the helm of the ship, so to speak. Now you can drive instead of being driven, you know. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. You realize, hey, you know what? No matter what's going on out there in the world, all is well within me. All is well in this world. And now I have peace. And now I can use this body as it was intended to be used, as a generator, as an energy transmitter and generator. So now that I have autonomy and control over my mental and my emotional faculties, now I have what they call heart-brain coherence, where that's another aspect of our superhuman power, is when you can make the heart and the brain operate and activate as one entity. By having remember the imagination, we talked about the imagination, the power of the human imagination, that whatever they imagine would not be impossible to them. And then when you take that thing in your imagination and you feel it real, two become one. The imagination and you feel it. You see it, and then you can feel it. You enter into the vision, and it becomes real. And that's why it says, be careful how you imagine. Be responsible, because whatever you sow, you're gonna reap. So imagine wisely. Imagine with those universal laws: love, joy, peace, harmony. Imagine wisely, because whatever you imagine for yourself or for others, especially for others, if you imagine something for someone else that you wouldn't want for yourself, and they decide, hey, I don't think I want that, then you have to partake of that, and go through that process to undo what was done. So that's why I say, be careful how you imagine, because whatever you imagine, it will become real. So that's why we want to let love be the governor, and let justice and peace and just those universal laws be the governor. Abundance, not abundance over scarcity and lack. So yeah, let's just keep chopping it and keep going. All right, I call this episode 2. All right, peace.